Let's make a twisted earwarmer headband using our Sentro circular knitting machine using the tube mode function. This earwarmer headband can be made for a child all the way up to adult using either machine. The yellow headband at the top is made on the Sentro 48 needle circular knitting machine, so the tube will be wider. We're at 7 inches. Versus the pink headband at the bottom, it was made on the 40 needle circular knitting machine, so the tube is 5 inches. Both headbands I made to the same length of 9 inches. This was 90 rows. I have a 21.5 inch circumference, so I think next time for me, I would do 80 rows. For smaller head circumferences, you would want to do less rows, and for larger head circumferences, you would want to do more rows. How many rows you do can depend on the yarn that you use. Thinner yarn may need additional rows. The yarn I'm using is the Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday Worsted yarn. This is a number 4 medium weight yarn. The color is called mustard, and I believe the pink one was berry. To start, we're going to cast on using waste yarn, going over and under each needle, and I like to start at the white needle. For the cast on, I like to do between 5 and 8 rows. For a complete, more in-depth tutorial on the waste yarn cast on method, see the video description below where I have the full video tutorial link there. Once you've done your 5 to 8 rows, put the remainder of your waste yarn in the middle of your machine, and now we're going to add on our project yarn. When adding on the project yarn, make sure you leave a long tail at least the length of your machine. Our project yarn, again, I start at my white needle on the same side where I've ended my waste yarn. You do not want to skip any needles. If there is a gap in between where you end your waste yarn and start your project yarn, you will get a hole and those stitches will drop. Now I'm going to crank out my 90 rows. When using the waste yarn cast on method, you want it to be a similar weight yarn to your project yarn, but in a high contrasting color so you can see the difference between your waste yarn and your project yarn. Once you've cranked out all of your rows, we're going to put the remainder of our project yarn in the middle of the machine. Again, I start at my white needle, and now we're going to do the waste yarn cast off using, again, my waste yarn in the color red. And for the cast off, I like more between 8 and 10 rows. Once you have your rows done, crank around one time without the yarn in the yarn holder, crank around a second time, and the yarn will fall off your machine. Now we're going to flatten our tube. So as you can see, the first row of our yellow yarn is sandwiched in between our waste yarn, so it makes it really easy to count the stitches. I start at the bottom where the tail ends of the yarn is, and on each side I count each stitch up to the top till I get to the 24th stitch on each side. In total, we have 48 stitches. To close, we're going to do a slip stitch with our crochet hook. I pick up the right 24th stitch and then the left 24th stitch, and then I slip stitch the one through the other. Then I go to right, pick up and slip stitch, then over to the left and slip stitch the first loop through the second, pick up the next and slip stitch, and go back and forth all the way down until the tube is completely closed flat. This makes a really nice finished edge, as one of my go-to to flatten a tube. Once we get down to the bottom, you just want to make sure you pick up every single stitch. If you do miss one, you will see a gap or a hole in the pattern. And if you remove the waste yarn without picking up each stitch, then that row would unravel. So just make sure you pick up every single stitch, and then at the bottom you slip stitch the tail end of the project yarn through your last stitch to secure it all into place. And you do this on both sides of your tube. Next, you remove the waste yarn. If you have difficulty removing your waste yarn, check out my waste yarn cast on video where I show how to remove it without cutting it out, or also see my Ravel cord cast on method. Next, I knot down the tail end of the yarn so it is secured, and I do this on both sides of the tube. Next, I take the tail end of the yarn and I feed it down through the bottom so it's on the opposite side of the tube. So we have one tail end on one side of the tube and one on the other, so they're diagonal from each other. Now to make our twist, we're going to take both ends, fold them in together, and cup them both into your hand so it makes like a C shape. And then we're going to interlace them like this. Line up your edges so they are straight. And making sure that they are in half. And then we're going to take the tail end of our yarn with our darning needle and we're going to sew through back and forth. And you want to make sure you pick up or catch all 4 layers so you don't have any holes or gaps. Once I'm down to the end, both tails of the working yarn should be on the same side now, and now we're going to knot them down and then knot them down together to secure all the yarn in place so it cannot unravel. And I like to do a couple of knots. Once I've knotted it down, I take my darning needle and I hide the end in between the two layers of our ear warmers and cut off any excess. Now flip your ear warmer right side out and your ear warmer is complete. And then here's the two ear warmers. Again, the yellow one was made on the 48 needle where the pink one was made on the 40. Here is how they look on me with a 21.5-inch head circumference. So they were a little bit big with the 90 rows because you do get some stretch with the knit. And then here it is showing on my mannequin. And so this mannequin head is a 20.5-inch head circumference, which is more like a tween size head. So this would definitely want to have less rows for a smaller head circumference, maybe more between the 70 and 80. And then with the 90 rows like I did, this probably would fit more like a 22 to 23-inch head circumference. And then you can also see on the yellow with the 48 needle, it does make that band wider. So on smaller heads, it's definitely going to be a bit bigger, but it also can double as a really cute neck warmer. So this is a really cute option too. If you have the 48 needle Sentro knitting machine, you can do a headband ear warmer or a neck warmer with this twist. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not done so already, please hit that like and follow button for more free tutorials. I appreciate all the support and the kind comments, and happy crafting, everybody.